Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and to wrap up the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles review marathon, I'll be reviewing from Nickelodeon and Netflix, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie. Yes, so, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie, from the animated show that goes by the same name on Nickelodeon. Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie I thought was pretty good. And I did have to watch a little bit of the show, just so I know what this variation of the Ninja Turtles is like. So, makes sense. Yeah, I mean, its style and how the turtles look, I mean, yeah, very interesting. But, every variation of the Ninja Turtles has to have its own style and look to the characters. That's what's important. So, as always, read the description / the story. When a mysterious stranger arrives from the future, with a dire warning, Leo is forced to rise and lead his brothers, Roth, Donnie, and Mikey, in a fight to save the world from a terrifying alien species. So, the opening to this movie is pretty interesting because, literally, we open with, in the future, and, it takes place in 2044, and we see what's left of the Turtles, Leo and Mikey, and they're a bit older, of course, like no longer teenagers, and would they still go by the being called the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? I don't know. Maybe. Again, Leo and Mikey, they're still alive, and, basically, New York is now an apocalyptic city, like Earth itself, basically, because of the aliens. Mikey, golly, because Mikey, he's like an old turtle man, and he's got mystic powers, and, we get the appearance of, Casey Jones. Yeah, Casey Jones, whom, if I'm correct, we never saw in the show, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Although somebody related to Casey, and I believe, at the end of the movie, it's revealed who that person is and who's a part of the show, which, until I get to that. And Casey Jones being voiced by Haley Joel Osment. Yes, Haley Joel Osment. He's done a lot of voice work, and most notably, best known for being the voice of Sora in the Kingdom Hearts games. So, yeah, he was good as Casey Jones. So it's Casey Jones that travels back to the past to basically, and as Leo, who in the future is known as, a great master and leader, stuff like that, he tells Casey to find the key and defeat the Krang. Basically, the key that is responsible for unleashing the aliens and, obliterating Earth, apocalyptic and so on. And, taking the key and it'll, close, the portal and, take the aliens back where they were, that kind of stuff. And so Casey, again, traveling back into the past and, trying to find the key. But, of course, he meets up with April and the Turtles, and, and because it was pretty funny, because the introduction of the Turtles in this film, Leo is trying to balance with a load of pizza boxes on his nose, a lot of pizza boxes, and the portrayal of Leo in the film, and, of course, for the series, because not what you would expect for Leo, because we all know Leo, because he can be serious and try to be a good leader, but no, he's kind of a goofball. Kind of, right next to Michelangelo. Michelangelo is still the goofball, but also Leonardo. And Raphael, well, knowing Raphael, because he's serious in this and is trying to especially keep Leo straight and, just telling him to be serious and stuff like that. Take things serious, blah, blah, blah. And Splinter, in this variation of the Ninja Turtles, pretty interesting. I mean, knowing Splinter, like, he can be serious and, set his 4 sons straight, but also he loves watching his TV shows and stuff like that. I guess, like, reality shows, like, okay, like, that's interesting for Splinter. And like, okay, and the voices of the Turtles and like, April and Splinter, yeah, as I said, Haley Joel Osment voicing Casey Jones, Leo being voiced by Ben Schwartz, and Ben Schwartz would be best known for being the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog, Roth being voiced by Omar Benson Miller, Mikey being voiced by Brendan Michael Smith, if I'm pronouncing the middle name right, and Donnie being voiced by Josh Brenner, and Splinter being voiced by Eric Buzet. I hope I'm saying the last name right. Best known for being one of the current voice actors of, say, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Marvin the Martian. Yeah, him. And April O'Neil being voiced by Kate Graham. And April O'Neil being portrayed as an African-American girl. That's fine. Pretty cool. And not to mention the same goes for April in Mutant Mayhem. So yeah, and okay, so the Turtles, there's one moment where the Turtles, they chase after, like, a couple of bad guys. One of them, Hypnopotamus, yeah, I hope I got the full name right, being voiced by Rice Darby. Yeah, and Rice Darby, because I remember him, like, he was in the Jumanji films. He's the guy that says, "Welcome to Jumanji." Yeah, that's him. So, Hypnopotamus, like, obviously one of the bad guys in the show, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, basically, like, Hypnopotamus has the key. Yeah, the key to, unleashing and setting free the aliens. And the Foot Clan, because Hypnopotamus is teaming up with the Foot Clan, and, Hippopotamus brings the key to the Foot Clan. And at one point, they set free the Krangs. I'm pretty sure, maybe one of them is Krang. I don't know, probably not, but we have Krang 1 being voiced by Jim Perry, and Krang 2 being voiced by Tox Olgadoy. I don't think I'm saying her last name right, but she's done a lot of acting stuff, so and voice work as well. Especially she's done some voice work in alongside with Ben Schwartz in the DuckTales series. So at one point, Casey finds and meets the Turtles, Splinter and O'Neil, and Casey tells them that he's from the future, but they don't believe him. But when it's mentioned about Krang, Splinter recognizes the name Krang and gives like a backstory about Krang and the aliens and how they were locked up and with the key, stuff like that. And thus, they believe him, and they go after the Krangs, Krang number 1, 2, and 3. And Krang number 3, for some reason on the IMDb page, I don't know, he's not credited. Why is that? Because Krang number 3 is voiced by Frank Welker. Yeah, what's up with that? Probably just an error, I guess. I don't know. It's one of those things. And so the Turtles, Casey, April, and Splinter, they confront the Foot Clan and the Krangs. And basically the Krangs, they take possession of the Foot Clan. And they do the same to some of the civilians of New York. And when the Turtles, they're trying to stop the Krangs, well, at first, they fail. Even at one point, Splinter gets injured. And at one point, the Turtles lose their powers because, in this variation of of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they have powers. Like for Leonardo, he can do portals, and for Mikey, he has mystic hands, like making magic and such, and with his hands, and like what future Mikey did. when he opened the portal, sending Casey to the future, stuff like that. And so they lose their powers, and Leo just trying his best to get the key, because, well, at one point, Raphael tells them to retreat, and they use escape pods, like the devices that, they hit on your chest, and it activates an escape pod. But Leo, yeah, he's not giving up. He does get the key, and he's this close to being attacked and, I guess, killed by the Krangs, but Raphael steps in, sacrificing himself to save Leo, and this really hits Leo. And it's at that point where Leo, he's being very serious, and he's gonna do whatever it takes to save his brother. And thankfully, because, I was actually thinking, and alongside with Splinter, like, oh, is Splinter gonna die? But no, he doesn't. He was just injured. And Raphael, was he gonna die? No, thankfully not. However, he gets possessed by the Krangs because, as I said, the members of the Foot Clan, some of the civilians of New York, and Raphael, they get possessed by the aliens, like gooey stuff, like on them, and like I've seen that kind of thing before. And so, yeah. So at this point, like, Raphael, he has no control and, being mind-controlled by the Krangs. And Leo at one point, like, blaming Casey, like, thinking that in the future, Raphael was under mind control and possessed by the Krang. But, according to Casey, no, because in the future, where Casey comes from, like, very different than, say, what's happening now, present time, with what the Krang is doing. Like, things change as the film proceeds on what the Krangs do, and of course we have the Technodrome coming in, obviously. And so the Turtles, Splinter, O'Neill, and Casey, they go after stopping the Krang and the aliens, but also saving Raphael. And by the way, because a little bit earlier in the film, April, she snuck into the college university that she goes to and stole some lab, like techno, like little bombs, I want to say, like they explode and like lighting happens and like gas, stuff like that. So she stole them, and they came in handy for what they were going to do, stopping the Krang, the aliens, and saving Raphael. Even at one point, April and Splinter, they come face to face with one of the Krangs, Krang number 2. April throwing one of them, and it hits Krang number 2's eye, and it explodes, and she loses one eye. You're gonna pay for what you did. And even say for Casey and Leonardo, because things don't go too well when they're trying to stop the Krang / the aliens, and because they have split up, as sometimes the Ninja Turtles would with the characters, and Donatello and Michelangelo, because, well, they of course have the Turtles van, and as I said, they get split up, and Casey basically just fed up with Leonardo because of, what he did not expect Leonardo to be, in the past, unlike how he knew Leonardo in the future, his time. And saying some harsh words. I mean, he was just upset, of course, and telling Leonardo that, you're not the best leader, blah, blah, blah. And again, sometimes Leonardo is not a good leader. There's no doubt about it. But, of course, Leo, he tries to do what's right and make things better and be a good leader, leading his brothers and his family, basically. And so Leo, Casey, April, Splinter, they meet up with Michelangelo and Donatello. They're kind of in a parallel situation, but of course, everything's okay with all of them once they're together, and they find and locate Raphael, who's trapped in, like, goo and such up top the ceiling, and so they break him out, but it's too late because, again, Raphael, as I said, being possessed, and yeah, once again, this hits and affects our characters, and again, especially Leonardo, and so they escape, and like, what's next? Like, what could they do next to save Raphael and defeat the aliens, and the Krangs? Well, Leo has a plan, and of course, as the other characters talk, they figure out, well, they've got the key, so basically, all they need to do is just send the aliens back to their own dimension/portal. And so they go back and take on the aliens, the Krangs, and save Raphael once again. And yeah, pretty cool stuff, and with the animation itself, just really cool. And not to mention, because with the Krangs, well, they get some upgrades, like, we all know, because with Krang, like inside of a robotic, cybernetic body, and like Krang number 1, of course, getting the big one and taking control, and like he has like a Sauron eye, the eye of Sauron from the Lord of the Rings. Like, you know what I'm talking about, and you get it, if you've seen this film. And like Krang with the giant eye, like, can see what's going on, and he sees what the turtles are doing, but also, if I remember correctly, yeah, shooting a laser around New York. It's pretty intense. And the turtles, they're inside the Technodrome, and each of them, like Donatello for one thing, because the thing is, like, Donatello and Michelangelo, they're grossed out by, the gooey aliens and the Krang, but they have no choice, especially Donatello, to take off his shell and to basically let, like, the alien, like, goo and stuff like that consume him, because, Donatello at one point takes control of the ship, the Technodrome, and he successfully does so, only to have Krang number 1, to discover what he's doing, and even when, say, Leonardo goes up and, not only confronting Krang number 1, but also trying to help/rescue Raphael, because Raphael's still being possessed, and, he doesn't want to fight his own brother, but, he has no choice. I mean, Raphael just coming after him. And, well, for April and Splinter, because they once again encounter Krang number 2, of course, they would, and after what April did to her, and the Foot Clan being possessed, they fight April and Splinter and Casey. And it seems like that the Turtles have almost lost to Krang number 1, because, well, Krang discovers what Donatello's doing. He takes a hold of him, like, takes him out, and grabbing Michelangelo and, Leo, he's trying to reach to his brother. He knows that Raphael is in there somewhere. And just saying that, I know why you yelled at me. It's not because you were mad, it's because you were scared. That kind of talk, and very emotional, of course. Like, don't get me wrong, very emotional. That's when, at that point, Raphael, he starts to come back, and even with a tear, it's very good. And when Krang has a hold of all of the turtles, and Raphael, he's still trying to fight it, well, the turtles, they're almost about to be possessed and mind-controlled as well. And Leo tells his 2 other brothers, if Raphael can fight it, then so can we. And thus they do so. And that's when they get their powers back. It's really cool. Good animation still, and like the glowing lights, and like, really cool. And so they get their powers back, and they take on Krang number 1. And yeah, and they're successfully taking down the aliens and the Krangs, and same goes for April, Splinter, and Casey. And up to when to send the Krang and the aliens back to where they belong in their own portal/dimension, and with the key, Leo tells Casey to close it, and because Krang number 1 is not giving up, and Leo is trying to restrain Krang number 1, and, Leo he sacrifices himself, and it really felt like that Leo was not going to make it. And it seems, it felt that way when Casey successfully closes it, and basically the Technodrome was destroyed in half, because of how far it was going back to its own portal, slash dimension. And the Turtles, April, Casey, Splinter being torn up by this, thinking that they're losing, and pretty much they've lost Leo. They think that at first, and we see that Leo, taking on Krang #1. Yeah, and it seemed like Leo was not going to make it, but of course he does. He successfully gets out of there, and the Krang and the aliens, they're defeated, they're back where they belong, and Leo, he's reunited with his brothers, his family, and yeah, a happy family reunion. And so the Turtles, along with Splinter, Casey, and April, they all have pizza. And at one point, April pulls this up on her phone. She sees what Cassandra Jones has been up to. And that's when Casey says, "That's my mom." And as I said, earlier, that someone related to Casey Jones, and yeah, it's Cassandra Jones. Isn't it obvious? Because they go by the last name Jones. Yeah. And it's pretty funny because, Leonardo once again, does, the challenge of balancing himself with a lot of pizza boxes on his nose. That's pretty funny, and yeah, that's how the movie ends right there. And also, there's a funny moment that I'd like to mention, because, there are really good funny moments in this film, but of course, the emotional moments. But, one funny moment is, for one thing, for Michelangelo, because when he was told by Casey that in the future, he has mystic powers in his hands, and he tries to do that, and finally, when it's up to the point where the Turtles, they get their powers back, yeah, that's when Michelangelo, he does that. And one cool shot where all four of them, they're together, and, it's a really cool shot, and, Leo says, if this is not for the poster, someone's getting fired. However he said it. That is pretty funny. And thus, the image, and that's on the green screen. Yeah, you get my point, and if you know what I'm talking about. Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie, I thought was pretty good. The story, the animation, the characters, how they're portrayed in this variant of the Ninja Turtles, the funny moments and the emotional moments, everything to this film I thought was pretty good. And again, this variation of the Ninja Turtles, really cool and awesome. And I'm giving Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie, 7 out of 10 stars. Yes. 7 out of 10 stars for Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie. And what about you guys? What did you think of Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie itself? And what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles review marathon has come to a close. It's been a lot of fun doing this review marathon, and throughout this review marathon, I've come to really like and respect the Ninja Turtles more. And how much the Ninja Turtles are loved by their fans, and with the films, some of these films are not the best, but, they can still be fun to watch. It doesn't matter if they're not the best, And besides, they're not, huge, successful films, They turned out good, but not big and successful. You get my point. Overall, I think that all of the Ninja Turtles films that I've reviewed, I think were pretty good. And I'm sure the same goes for you guys. So once again, it's been a lot of fun doing this review marathon of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I can't wait until I review Mutant Mayhem. So with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie. More review videos coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video/review. Take care, and until the next review marathon, peace out. Go Ninja, go!